Hello everyone and welcome back to Age Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age Sigmar. So in this video it's going to be part 4 of the Nighthaunt army video, and in this video we're going to look at the endless spells for the Nighthaunt and also their Behemoths, so that will be the Mongol and the Blackcoat. So firstly we're going to look at the endless spells, and then we're going to get to the real sort of cookie jar units of the Nighthaunt later. So the first spell we're going to look at is the Shaiish Reaper. And what it says about the Shaiish Reaper is the soul-hungry Reaper is the ultimate manifestation of finality and death. Its blade passes through armour with ease to cleave flesh and rip away a mortal soul, sending it screaming into the underworlds. Okay, and then in-game, looking at its war scroll, who can summon this? So who can summon this endless spell? Now, can only be summoned by Nagash, the Supreme Lord of Undead, as you know his full keyword is, and also Nighthaunt Wizards. And the spell has a casting value of 7. If successfully cast, you set up the Shaiish Reaper within 6 inches of the caster, and that's also wholly within 6 inches of the caster, so important to remember there. And then it goes on to start listing its abilities, and obviously the spell only really has like one sort of effect, but it all links in together. So it says Shaiish Reaper is a predatory spell. It has a movement characteristic of 8, and it can fly. So important to remember it can fly there, of course, as well, you know, because obviously it's going to be flying over enemy units. It's part of what this spell does. And then it goes on to say Sweeping Death. So when this model is set up, the player who set it up can immediately make a move with it. And then the next part of it is Soul Reaper, which is before moving a Shaiish Reaper, pivot the model on the center of the base so that it points lengthways in the direction you wish to move. Then move it in a straight line in the direction. The initial pivot is free and does not count towards the distance the model moves, so again that's important to remember there. And then after this model has moved, roll a dice for each model that it moved over, including models it moved over when it pivoted. If the roll is equal to or greater than the model's save characteristic, that model's unit suffers 1 mortal wound. And then the last ability is empowered by Shaiish. So if your battle is being fought in the realm of Shaiish, the Shaiish Reaper can move 12 inches instead of 8. Okay, so looking at the abilities there, obviously this is dependent if you're fighting against a particular army. You know, if you're fighting against Stormcast and their saves are great, so this spell is going to be fantastic against them, as you know, it's got a more chance of doing mortal wounds to them, hasn't it, essentially. So that's going to be good if you're playing armies such as, I don't know, Flesh-Eater Court or Skaven or you know, Moonclan Grots or something, you know, armies that don't have particularly good saves. This spell isn't going to be so good. It's not going to, yeah, you're not going to get the most out of it. So it is situational there. You are only doing 1 mortal wound to the enemy, so I'm a little bit. And because the movement is only 8, yes, it is empowered by Shaiish, so if it's fought in the realm of death, you are going to be moving 12 inches instead of 8. However, I feel like that's a little bit... It's too situational. You don't know if you're going to be fighting in the realm of Shaiish, unless, of course, you know, you've picked that and you and your opponent are having a game, you know what battle you're fighting in and so on, that's great. Then, yeah, it's got a use there, you know, that bonus is going to come into it. However, if you're taking it in a tournament, you don't know if that's going to happen. So, yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this. I think the model, out of all the 3 endless spells you've got for the Nighthaunt, I think it's the nicest looking model, and it's a huge, massive scythe. So, you know, what is not to like about it? That absolutely just destroys Stormcast. So, in that sense of thing, it is right up my alley. And looking at the keywords, move on to that. So, it's got the endless spell, Shaiish, and the Shaiish Reaper. This thing is costing you 40 points, so it's not a lot of points either, in all honesty. So if you've got 40 points left over and you know you're fighting against an army that has, you know, like really good armor saves, yeah, you know, you chuck it in, see what happens. And like I say, it's a cool model. So yeah, that is it for the Shaiish Reaper. That's all I've really got to say about it. And then going on to the next one, which is the Vault of Souls. So this is the model that, if you haven't seen it, it's basically like a vault, so basically like a chest with loads of ghost heads and all that sort of thing popping out. And this thing is going to cost you 40 points. And what it says about the Vault of Souls is this summoned chest siphons souls, filling itself to overflowing with rich spirits of the mortal kind. Ever greedy for more, it eventually bursts, sending forth the lethal explosion of imprisoned souls to strike at all those nearby. So then looking to see what it does in the game. So like all the Nighthaunt Endless spells, it can only be summoned by Nagash, the Supreme Lord of Undeath, or Nighthaunt Wizards. So obviously that's something to bear in mind, of course. It has a casting value of 6, so successfully cast, set up the model wholly within 18 inches of the caster, and then it goes on to say that the Vault of Souls is a Predatory Endless spell, and it has a move of up to 8 inches. Okay, and then going into its abilities, so it's got Soul Siphon. So after this model is set up and has moved, roll a dice for each model within 6 inches of it. On a 6+, that model's unit takes 1 mortal wound. Then on to the next ability, Soul Eruption. Keep track of the number of mortal wounds inflicted by this model. If the total is 20 or more, at the end of that phase, any units within 6 inches of the model suffer d6 mortal wounds, and then this model is dispelled. And the last ability, Empowered by Shaiish. If this battle is being fought in the realm of Shaiish, the range of this model's Soul Siphon ability is 9 inches instead of 6. Okay, and then the keywords are Endless Spell, Shaiish, Vault of Souls, and remember this is costing you 40 points. So, yeah, I think it's hit and miss, isn't it? Because obviously if it's in a the battle's being fought in the realm of Shaiish, I think suddenly this thing becomes amazing, and really is going to be able to do quite a few more wins to the enemy. Just because, again, like a lot of these things I'm talking about, it is situational, because if you're playing against a horde army, this is fantastic, because, if you can put this near like a block of witches, or a block of plague monks, or a block of skeletons, or whatever, this is going to do, could do wonders for you, because it's just going to increase the chance of you getting those 6s and causing that many mortal wounds to the enemy. And then what you're trying to do is that d6 mortal wound bomb is the, the thing you're trying to aim for with this. So yes, if you're playing against those sort of horde armies, I'd say yeah, take this. It's probably gonna make up its points. What was it, 40 points? I mean, even if you get to build 2,000 point army, you get to 1960 points, and then you think, well, you've got 40 points left over. That's not enough for you to get an extra command point. It's enough for you to maybe get a triumph, but I think maybe stick this thing in, and it might do you better. I think honestly there, and I think, to be honest, I prefer this more than the Scythe. I mean, the Scythe is, I prefer the model of the Scythe. I think the Scythe, I call it the Scythe, I mean the Shaiish Reaper. I think that is the best model. However, the Vault of Souls, I think it's just got more purpose. You're going to be doing more mortal wounds. I think overall, like I say, depending on what army you're fighting, the Shaiish Reaper is a better guaranteed way to do more wins, because you're not relying on a roll of 6 by sure. But in the perfect storm scenario, if you're playing against a horde army, the Vault of Souls has got a good chance of doing good damage. And just reading through the rule again, so after this model is set up or has moved, roll a dice for each model within 6 inches of it, and on a 6+, that model's unit takes 1 mortal wound. So as far as I'm aware, it can also affect yourself as well, so that's something to bear in mind. If that is the case, you don't really want to cause too much friendly fire. Okay, so that is the Vault of Souls. Then going on to the Mortalist term Medicus, which I'm pretty sure is pronounced wrong, but I don't know how to pronounce that. So going into its lore, so the Hourglass of Fate, known as the Mortalist term Medicus, can speed the passing of time, aging those nearby to bones and dust in a blink of an eye, or it can be used to reverse the chronological order, restoring youth and vitality. Okay, so what this thing does in the game, so again, it can be summoned by Nagash, Supreme Lord of Undead, or Nighthaunt Wizards, and if you try and cast it, so summon this casting value of 6, if successfully cast, sets up this model wholly within 18 inches of the caster, and then it goes and say that it's a predatory spell, so and it also has a move of 8 inches and can fly. And just to make sure, to make it clear, all the other spells as well can fly, so this one, the Vault of Souls and the Shaiish Reaper, they can all fly, just to remember that. Okay, now going back to the Hourglass, as I want to call it, because I can't pronounce its real name, its abilities. So the Keeper of Mortality, after this model is set up or has moved, the controlling player must decide whether the Hourglass will reverse or hasten time. If they choose to reverse time, heal D3 wounds allocated to each unit within 6 inches of this model. If they choose to hasten time, Each unit within 6 inches of this model suffers D3 mortal wounds. And then the next ability, empowered by Shaiish, so if the battle is being fought in the realm of Shaiish, the range of the model's Keeper of Mortality ability, whether the controlling player chooses to reverse or hasten time, is a 12-inch range instead of 6 inches. Okay, and then just going through the keywords, of course, and the spell Shaiish, and then the Mortis Terminus, or however that is pronounced. Right, okay, so looking at this ability, I think, to be honest, it is the best one I've read so far. I think just an average. I mean, of course, you know how the endless spells will work is that, you know, after you summon it, and then the enemy could, you know, do things with it as well. So, you know, it's swings and roundabouts, of course. However, the thing to remember here, as this is, you know, specific to the Nighthaunt army, or, you know, Nagash, unless you're fighting the Nighthaunt or, you know, a Legion of Nagash army with Nagash within it, or, you know, any other Death army with him in, you're going to be the one setting this up. So you're going to be the one who, you know, chooses what ability you're going to do first, and healing D6 wounds allocated to, you know, units within 6 inches of this model. That is pretty big, especially how it's not wholly within 6 inches as well. You know, because reading the rule again, if they choose to reverse time, heal D3 wounds allocated to each unit within 6 inches of this model. Bear in mind, like I say, with the previous spell, like the Vault of Souls, I am sort of unaware if this will affect your own guys, as well as the enemy when you're going to, you know, heal or do mortal wounds. So, you know, if you're healing them, just be careful you don't heal the enemy as well. And if you're going to do mortal wounds, be careful you don't do that to yourself as well. But no, I think that, for me, is probably my favourite war scroll for all the endless spells for the Nighthaunt. And the model's pretty cool too. I quite like that. So yeah, I think it's quite versatile. Again, like I say, it depends, doesn't it, if you're who's controlling it. You know, you don't want to have this thing, you know, in the middle of quite a few of your units to get you know, all the healing going if they're all bogged down in combat, and then the enemy gets the next turn, and then because you haven't moved this spell out of the way, it's still in range of all your units, and then they're going to do more wounds to them and undo all that work you've done. So yeah, I mean, I think it's my favourite one. I mean, it is my favourite one. However, it is the most expensive. It's going to cost you 60 points, but it's only 20 points more, isn't it? It's not that much of a difference, in all honesty. It is getting to that point now, though, if you're getting to building 2,000 point lists, like I said, with the Vault of Souls, and you're, you know, got 1960 points to, you know, you've built that much so far, and you think you've got 40 points left over. Let's give this a go, because you're not going to get an extra command point anyway at that rate. Bear in mind, if you take the Hourglass, it's going to cost you 60 points. So if you had 60 points left over, you could save that for a command tree, and then you will, in most of your games, get a triumph as well. So it will be taking away something, I do feel like, by you not getting that command point. But at the same time, I think, like most of these, it's worth giving a go. It's worth trying. A lot of the models are quite cool. So yeah, I quite like that then. So those are the endless spells. Let's get on to the Behemoths of the Nighthaunt army. And we are going to start with the Blackcoat. So, driven by a calm wraith and bearing the remains of a slain vampire or powerful necromancer, the Blackcoat seeks out sights of great slaughter and suffering, swelling with dark magic as it runs down helpless mortals in an explosion of gore. Okay, so that's like a little bit in the lore, and this thing what's like in the game. So we're going to start with its movement. It's got a movement of 14 inches, but like I said, because this is Behemoth, bear in mind it's quite a big model, so it's going to have a damage table. So it starts with 14 inches, and then it will go to a movement of 6 inches when it gets to 10 wounds, and so on. So it has a 4+ save, it has 10 bravery and 12 wounds. So yeah, that's not bad so far. I thought maybe more than 12 wounds going by the size of the model, but 12 wounds isn't bad, and compared to pretty much everything else in the Nighthaunt army, 12 wounds is huge, so take that happily. Going on to its weapons, it actually has quite a lot of weapons. It's got 5 weapons in total. It's got 1 missile weapon, which is the Khan Race Soul Reach Grasp, which is a 10-inch range, 1 attack, freeze to hit, freeze to wound, -3 rend, D3 damage. So firstly, -3 rend, wow, that is really, really good. I don't think there is anything else in this army that has -3 rend, from what I can remember. Just trying to think, of any of the named characters had -3 rend. No, they didn't. So yeah, I think -3 rend is the only thing that has it in the army, so that's huge. Obviously against Stormcast army, it's going to be amazing. If you're fighting against another Nighthaunt army, yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the arse. That's not really going to do anything. And D3 damage, yeah, that's swingy. But the fact that you've got a shooting attack at 10-inch range, well, for death, is pretty big 10-inch range. with a -3 rend, so the enemy's probably not going to save against it, and its D3 damage could just be picking out that hero the enemy has behind their enemy ranks, and because it'd be -1 to hit that hero, means you'd be hitting on 4s. Wound & Freeze -3 and D3 damage means you might just be able to kill that annoying Blood Creator that's giving all the bonuses to the enemy army if they've already taken a bit of damage. Right, okay, and then on to the melee weapons. So we've got the Khan Race Reaper Scythe, so 1-inch range, 3 attacks, force to hit, freeze to win, -1 rend, 2 damage. So that's the same as we've seen for the Khan Wraith on foot. So yeah, that's good, I like that. And then the Khan Wraith Soul Reach Grasp. So again, this is like the shooting attack, but this is the melee version of that attack. So he gets to shoot it and he gets to use it in melee, so that's pretty good. So it's got a 3-inch range, so good range, 1 attack, freeze to hit, freeze to wound, -3 rend, D3 damage. Again with that -3 rend is huge. So it's basically exactly the same characteristic as the missile weapon, apart from it's a combat variety basically, and it's got a 3-inch range, so it will be able to hit anything he is in combat with, as you know the combat range is 3 inches. So that is good there. And then we've got the Relic Bearer's Spectral Claws. So we've got a 1-inch range, we've got starting with 9 attacks, and as this Blackcoat takes damage, it will get weaker the amount of attacks, going down to a minimum of 5 when it takes 10 more wounds. It's got a 4 to hit, a 4 to wound, -1 rend and 1 damage. And then the last attack is the Nightmare's Hooves and Teeths. So 1-inch range, 8 attacks, force to hit, force to wound, no rend and 1 damage. So looking at the attacks there, like the Hooves and Teeths, that's pretty good. That's not hitting or wounding on 5. That's nice for a horse attack. And 8 attacks is quite a lot. If you're fighting against, a pretty standard battle line sort of unit, like I've mentioned before, like skeletons or calamrats or whatever, things that don't have particularly good saves. 8 attacks is quite a lot. Yeah, sure, you might make the enemy only have to make about 3 saves or whatever, but that's still 3 enemies you could kill. It depends how lucky you are on your dice. Then going down to its abilities, so it says it can fly, and it's got the field keyword, which is great because it didn't used to have the field keyword. It used to be a right pain in the arse. And then it's got the Frightful Touch ability, which says the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with the Khan Race Reaper Scythe is a 6. That attack inflicts 2 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. Do not make a wound roll or save rolls. And it says, in addition, the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a Relic Bearer's Spectral Claws is a 6. That attack inflicts 1 mortal wound, and that attack sequence ends. Do not make a wound or save roll. So it's like all the Frightful Touch abilities we've seen so far, like Spectral Claws, all of that. Which is quite good actually, because for the Relic Bearers, like I said, they start with 9 attacks, which is good. Also, they're hitting on a 4, so it still means they're only doing more wounds on the 6s to hit, unmodified of course, but it means that if you, unfortunately, don't get those 6s, usually with things like Spirit Hosts, you're just using them to get the 6s to do more wounds, otherwise they're hitting on 5, so if you're not doing more wounds, you're probably not really getting anything. Whereas these guys, if you don't get the more wounds, you're probably going to get a few hits. And then with the Khan Wraith Reaper Scythe, like I said when I talked about the Khan Wraith, it's a little bit different because there's a little hero and I thought he was great for his point. But still on this, you've got a chance of doing, 2 more wounds to each one of those attacks. That's 3 attacks, so a potential of, 6 mortal wounds. Quite unlikely, but I have done it before. So, or even if you just get 2 6s and there's 4 more wounds to the enemy, something you're quite unexpected and really does help in the long run. Okay, so and then the next ability, which is Invocation of Death. So at the start of each of your battle rounds, roll 3 dice for each Blackcoat on the battlefield. For each 4+ that a Blackcoat gains a level of power. Levels of power are cumulative and last for the rest of the battle. They grant the following abilities. So basically what it's saying is that, they stack as well, so it's not like you can only go up to a maximum of 3 levels of power per, hero phase. They all stack on top of each other, so that's good. So the first level is the Nimbus of Power. So in your hero phase, heal D3 wounds that have been allocated to this model. In addition, at the start of your hero phase, pick 1 friendly summonable Nighthaunt unit wholly within 12 inches of this model and return D3 slain models to that unit. The returning models must be set up within 12 inches of this model. So that's a nice ability. Again, it's helping this guy out, but it's also benefiting the rest of the army. And that's the first level, so that's, you should get that off on your first hero phase, in all fairness, so you should start being able to use it when you need to, from turn 2 or maybe even turn 1, so on, if you're going against shooting and all that, and the enemy can damage you pretty early on. And bear in mind that the base of this guy is quite big as well, so I know it has to be wholly within 12 inches, a bit of a pain, but because the base is pretty big, it shouldn't be too hard to achieve, especially if you just focus at 1 unit or maybe 2 units within range of this guy. And then the second level is Unholy Vigor. So reroll hit rolls of 1 for this model's melee weapons. In addition, the model can run and charge in the same phase. So bear in mind I said this guy starts moving 14 inches, but that will get weaker. However, if this guy's healing, he's got a way to negate the damage table. So what? I mean, like, say he's taking 3 damage, that means his movement is now 12 inches, but in your hero phase you go, right, okay, well, he's going to heal D3 wounds. That's going to put him back in the first bracket, which means he's moving 14 inches again. And then being able to run and charge just gives you so much more movement, especially if you really wanted to get this guy into combat. You can make him, if you've got a hero nearby, to make sure that he, you know, gets a 6 to run and then gets reroll on his charges. That costs you 2 command points. I don't think it'd be worth it, but if it's really a situation where you need this guy to get into combat and wipe a enemy unit off an objective at the end of the game, just to take it and, you know, overtake the enemy on points, you know, this could happen with this guy in those odd situations. And reroll state rolls for 1, like I said, this guy, none of his attacks are super crazy good. I mean, you've got a -3 rend attack there, but it's, it's only 1 attack, isn't it, D3 damage. But he has got a lot of attacks, so getting those rerolls to hit rolls of 1, it's usually, like I say, like the Nightmares, Who's and Thieves, you know, ability, which is 8 attacks, 4s to hit, 4s to wound, no rend and 1 damage. Just getting rerolls to hit rolls of 1 for that attack is good, you know, it just makes it that much more reliable. So yeah, I am a big fan of the second level so far. And then going on to the third level, which is Spectral Scythe. This is after this model completes a charge move, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of this model and roll a dice. On a 2+, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So yeah, it's an extra chance to do more wounds to the enemy, isn't it, essentially? And if this guy is at this level, he's going to get his charges in, fair enough. And he's got a big base to try and move around, can be a little bit different maybe. But getting, you know, being able to run and charge means that, you know, he's going to get his charges in when he wants them, essentially. And getting on a, yeah, it'd be nice if it was just picking an enemy unit within, you know, 1 inch and it takes D3 mortal wounds. But even on a 2-up, you know, that's not bad, is it? You know, it's better than some things that are like on a 4-up, it takes D3 mortal wounds, and it's just an extra way to do damage to the enemy when you charge them. And, you know, bear in mind, if you do that and then this guy charges on a 10 or more for the Nighthaunt ability, you know, the battle trait, which allows them to attack in the charge phase as well, you could do a lot of damage to the enemy before you even get to the combat phase. So going on to the 4th level, which is Unsustainable 4. This model can retreat and charge in the same turn, and that is also good because bear in mind that this guy can run and charge, so he can retreat out of combat. Let's say he still got his 14-inch movement, you know, the perfect storm sort of scenario. 14-inch movement, he's running out of there, so you know that's obviously plus D6, and he can then charge again. So very versatile unit to be able to get him where you want to get him. It's pretty hard to get bogged down by the enemy. If he does get bogged down by the enemy, yeah, he's only got 4+ save and 12 wounds. However, he's got the potential to heal. And when I mean potential, I mean as long as you get the first level, you are going to be healing in the hero phase. And he's got the ethereal keyword, so quite survivable. Just bear in mind this guy's not a hero, so you might want to have a hero within range of him to give him his death save. Okay, and then we've got the 5th level, which is a Witchfire. So in your hero phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of this model. On a 4+, that enemy unit takes D3 mortal wounds. So that is another way to do, you know, not just damage to the enemy, but also mortal wounds. The way to do mortal wounds to the enemy with this unit is reckon up. Yeah, none of it's crazy like D6 mortal wounds or, you know, loads and loads of mortal wounds that way, or shooting and being able to do it. But it's, from what I'm understanding already, is that this guy's quite good at, yeah, I mean, obviously, be killing hordes with his, you know, rend attacks and stuff, but he's good against attacking elite armies, you know, Stormcast. I know the Nighthaunt and the Stormcast are sort of like set up as a, you know, 1v1 rival with quite a few abilities clashing with each other. And the Blackcoat seems to fit that quite well. It's got nothing that specifically targets, you know, Stormcast. However, with his rend attacks and also his mortal wound opportunities, really sort of highlights him as being a good unit to use against high saving armies, you know, armies with like 3+ saves and so on. So that is the end of his Invocation of Death levels. 5 levels there. You're on 3 dice for this guy per start of each battle round, so bear in mind that it's not going to be the start of each hero phase at the start of each battle round, so it doesn't really matter who goes first, which is the nice thing to say, like the enemy's won the priority, and it's really annoying when you wanted it. You're still going to be rolling dice to this guy to see if he goes up a level, and 5 levels means that he's got a good chance of getting to the 5th level by the end of the game. Okay, and then his last ability is Reap Like Corn. So you can reroll failed hit rolls for attacks made with the model's Reaper Scythe if the target's unit has 5 or more models. So this is what we see a lot for the current. When I say a lot, I mean like all the current race variations have this, which is great because, like I say, they're doing mortal wounds on 6s. If they get a 6, the mortal wound they do is 2 mortal wounds, and yeah, that means that it's not an addition; it's instead of the normal damage, but it's still a big thing for a what is essentially a little hero, even that he's not a hero on top of this, but you know what I mean. Okay, so going into the keywords, so he's got Death Malignant, Nighthaunt, Blackcoat. So surprising being a Behemoth, he doesn't have the monster keyword, or he doesn't have a hero keyword either, which you think he's a common ref on top, so he would do, but he doesn't. So his keywords are actually quite short. However, you know, obviously the important thing to remember there is that he's Nighthaunt, and the other things to remember, like I say, he hasn't got the hero one, so he's not going to get his death save because he's in range of himself. That's not going to be a thing. And he won't be targeted by monster abilities. You know, like some enemy units get, I don't know, like rerolls to wound against monsters, or you know, like some scenery pieces don't affect monsters and all that sort of thing. So it's something to bear in mind when using this guy. Don't be too carried away by thinking this guy's, you know, absolutely enormous. He must be a monster. That is not the case. So now that we've looked at the Blackcoat and who he is and what it does in the game, it is going to cost you, like on a sort of competitive side of things, if you like, it's going to cost you 280 points. So it's a huge jump from what we've seen before. I mean, like Lady Alinda is probably the most expensive thing we've seen prior to this one in the Nighthaunt Army. I'm pretty sure she is. And yeah, 280 points is quite a lot. I'm a little bit torn between this guy because, like I said, he's got a good chance of doing damage to like enemy units with like good saves and so on. He's got plenty of abilities, but he hasn't got too many abilities that synergize with the rest of the army. He's got the you know, the first level, which is the Nimbus of Power, which allows you to bring back D3, you know, slain Sunball models if they're within range of the Blackcoat. But I feel like he's a bit of a instead of helping your army, he's set up to be a a one-man guy who basically does his own thing. He goes in, does damage, he can retreat, he can charge, he can run and charge, all those sorts of things. He's got good movement and so on. But I feel like, I mean, he's not loads of points. He's not, crazy monster level, 400 points and so on. It's only 280. But I feel like if he is made for that purpose, to be a behemoth that goes around just smashing things, he's got a lot of attacks, but I don't think he is as good as some of the other behemoths or other just heroes, to be honest, for that point. So I'm a little bit unsure where to put this guy. I was hoping when they first released the Blackcoat, or when I say they first released, I mean when they re-released it from the old model into the new model with the Nighthaunt Battalion, because the model's so, it's fantastic, isn't it? The Blackcoat model is a really, really great piece of artwork. And yeah, so I was a little bit disappointed. I was hoping that it was going to synergize the rest of your army a lot better. I thought that's what its purpose would be. I thought it would be a hero, so it would give the death save, and then because of the size of its base, compared to like all the other heroes in the army, it would be a good one to have in the middle of your army because it spreads the death save around essentially. However, that is not the case, and it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not what I personally wanted. What I would say though, it's not too many points. It just depends how good it is at running around and smashing things. It could be good at taking objectives and all that because of its movement, its speed, and being able to run a charge and so on, and being able to do quite a lot of damage on the charge. So yeah, it might be able to be good. That wouldn't be quite a lot of damage on charge. I mean, against not insane elite enemy units, like their battle line units. So they've left like 20 models on a back objective. Maybe this guy can sweep around and wipe them off and take the objective, or if they had 10 models on there. Maybe something like that, one wound models. So yeah, I think this guy would have to be tested out. What I would say though is, obviously, I've said this a lot about Nighthaunt. They have a lot of nice models. The Blackcoat has got to be one of the best ones. So it's a really great, centerpiece and focal point for your army. It would look great in there. So that's all we're going to say about the Blackcoat. It's got plenty of abilities. I'm sure it'll be lots of fun to use as well, because it's not really going to be doing like the previous Blackcoat used to do, which is basically just sit around and do fuck all. This guy will be doing quite a lot, so I imagine it'll be quite fun to use. Right, then moving on to our last behemoth, which is quite often the most talk about model in the whole of the Nighthaunt, which has made many people fear the Nighthaunt in the past. When I mean the Nighthaunt, I mean particularly this model really. When I mean fear, I mean just they don't want to fight one of these things because they're a pain in the arse. And that, of course, would be the Mongol. So obviously, used to be, I'll start off by saying, very, 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 very powerful in this game, and now has taken a bit more of a step back role. Not to say that it isn't good anymore, because its points has came down to reflect that, but it's just got a toned down a little bit since the I think Legends of Nagash Battalion came out around that sort of time, or the Nighthaunt Battalion. So anyway, let's get on with the Mongol. So what is a Mongol? So driven by famine and pain to hunt their former friends and companions, Mongols are damned to an eternity of terrible isolation. Their shadowy carnivorous forms of cold flesh and cracked bone wrap and twist ceaselessly as they rake their foes with claws and teeth. Okay, so that's basically what the Mongol is. You can look more of it up online. It's a pretty horrific looking monster. It's, to be honest, out of all the things in Age of Sigmar, it's probably the one thing that I would see and I'm like, that's generally like terrifies me. And if you saw in real life, you know, I think your heart would stop. You wouldn't even get a chance to run away. You just die once seeing this hideous creature. And when I say hideous creature, I mean I personally think it's lovely. I love the fact that its lower part of the body is missing. Right, okay, so enough of talking about it itself. Let's see what its rules are. So it's got a movement of 12, and because it is a monster, it has got a damage table, so it starts at 12, and then when it takes 9 or more wounds, it then has a movement of 7, so it doesn't drop down too much, I suppose, so not too bad. So 4+ save, bravery 10, and 10 wounds. So going on to its melee weapons, and it only has one. It's got a 2-inch range. It starts with 8 attacks, but the amount of attacks will get weaker the amount of damage he takes. So for as an example, he starts with 8, then when he takes 9 or more damage, he will only have 4 attacks. So it starts with 8 attacks, 2-inch range, freeze to hit, freeze to wound, -1 rend, and 2 damage. So yeah, not bad, is it? I mean, like I say, it's not a horrific monster. On the combat side, it can do damage. You know, it's got a free to hit characteristic and to wound, and it's got rend and it's 2 damage, so it's not bad. I mean, like I say, that to hit and to wound characteristic is good. It's probably going to make the enemy have to do quite a few save rolls from your attacks. And then going on to the abilities, so Devourer of Flesh and Souls. So at the end of the combat phase, if any enemy models were slain by wounds inflicted by this model's attacks in that combat phase, you can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to this model. So yeah, that's great. It's a way for this guy to heal himself, as you know, he's got a 4+ save, and it's got obviously, you know, the ethereal abilities as well, and he's got, you know, the death save is in range of a, you know, your Nighthaunt hero. However, 10 wounds is not that many wounds at all really with a monster, so you want to be a little bit careful with this guy. So it's good that he can heal wounds from his own abilities. So so there's that, and like I say, he's a ethereal and he can fly. And then he's got the Frightful Touch. So if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with the model's nightmarish claws and fangs is a 6, that attack inflicts 2 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. Do not make a save roll. Okay, so this is something we see a lot, where the Frightful Touch basically just turns its normal damage into mortal wounds on a roll of a unmodified 6. So that's something to bear in mind there. Yeah, that's good. You know, making it attack, so typically you should get, you know, at least 1/6. So yeah, you do mortal wounds to the enemy, aren't you? Which is good. And then going on to its last ability, so Ghastly Apparition. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy models while they are within 6 inches of any friendly models with this ability. Right, then looking at its keywords, it's got Death, Malignant, Nighthaunt, Monster, Mongol. So obviously the important things there are Nighthaunt, and bear in mind it is a monster. This thing is going to cost you 300 points. So now looking at, you know, overall, is this guy worth his 300 points? Now, I personally don't see it, because he has got particularly weaker compared to what he used to be, but he used to be a lot more points. I think he used to be 400 points, I think he used to be. and he used to have basically better saves and so on. However, I think the role he fits now is not so much that huge heavy hammer units to have in your army that just smashes the enemy and just keeps them steamrolling over them like a lot of these huge monsters. I think he's got more of a sort of a skirmishing role, if you see what I mean. That's quite a lot of points, 300 points for one model. That's a skirmishing role, but I think this guy would be great for tearing apart smaller units of the enemy. And I was going to say smaller, weaker units, but I suppose like elite units as well. I mean, he's got a rend 1 attack, hasn't he? So he can punch for a bit of armor, but particularly the weaker units, he'll be very good at, going around trying to get the objectives, that sort of thing, in the enemy's backside. Especially if you summon this guy up through the underworlds, could be a good thing to do there. Of course, you just have to rely on getting that charge to be able to attack the enemy. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Not really much else to say for this guy. He does nicely though give a minus to hit bubble to your opponent, which does help out the rest of your army depending on where this guy is. If you make him in the centre where all the fighting is, making the enemy -1 to hit is huge, of course, and there's more than one way to do it, but this is just another way, and it's just another way to make the enemy, if they're hitting on, the typical thing, they're hitting on 5s, now they're hitting on 6s, so they're hitting on 4s, now it's 5s, it just makes it that much more difficult. So yes, that is by far his best ability, and that is one of the reasons why I would take him, apart from that he is a awesome model, and is a affordable model to be fair, but he's not too expensive. I think he's £37. I think that's what it was when I bought my one. So yeah, I do love the model, and in game, like I say, I think you're probably better spending the points somewhere else, but this guy certainly would be fun and could definitely have a role within the army. I think it's that sort of a skirmishing unit, and be nice to try out and see how that went. Okay, so that is all the endless spells and Behemoths for the Nighthaunt, and yeah, I thought that would be quite a good way to do them, combine them to one video, because otherwise it's two sort of smaller sections of the Nighthaunt army, so I thought put them into one be a good way of doing that. All there is for me to do now for the Nighthaunt army is to look at their battalions, and I'm going to do that in the army video part 5, as there's been quite a few parts now for the Nighthaunt, a few more than I expected, if I'm honest, when I started, but I thoroughly enjoyed diving into the army and looking at all the tricks and secrets, so that has been good fun. And yes guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe and comment down below, because like I've always said guys, that does really help me more than words can describe, and that is the reason that I produce these videos, to know that you guys are enjoying them. So I want to thank you very much again for my continued support I've been getting from you guys, and it's great to see the channel growing. Okay, so yes guys, like I say, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and please let me know down in the comments your thoughts on the Nighthaunt in particular, and also their Behemoths. What do you think about the Mongol and its changes? Do you think it's still got good use now? What do you think of the Blackcoat? You had much experience of it, how you see that in the army, and also the endless spells. If you've used them, or if you're thinking about using them, what's your plans behind it? It would be great to hear that, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. So until next time, remember, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.